Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where we are reimagining the entire world of Hyrule within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Welcome to a new episode. Hello everyone, we're doing something exciting today. I think it's exciting. Anytime we get to revisit locations that people care about, I think is a good day. And, I really want to offer new things in this project. I don't want to just do recreations of areas, but I think that this video might be a good example of kind of my philosophy with that when I do recreate areas. There are times where I want to stay pretty close to kind of the source material and say, well, this is the area that would be in Hyrule, so let me kind of recreate it pretty faithfully. And then there's times where I want to say, you know what, I really want to do my own version of this area, bring different things together, hopefully to create something new. Hopefully that's what today is about. And I'll go ahead and tell you, today is it's a progress update. We're not finishing much, but we're getting some really strong starts that really excite me about this area of the map. So without further ado, we are creating the Great Plateau within the world and art style of The Wind Waker. I'm really excited about this. I think that this is, like I said, like it's stylistic. And I think that that's what's exciting about the Great Plateau, because Breath of the Wild, I love its art style. And I've said before that I really do feel like it's a modern version of the Wind Waker's art style in several ways. But there are ways, especially when it comes to topography, right? The literal geography of the world, where it opts for a more naturalistic feel, where Wind Waker's, style is very much more stylized when it comes to, the depictions of the natural world. Things are more, not cubic, but, they are lower poly, but it's not just because of the lack of ability. I think there's a really stylistic way that the Wind Waker uses its geometry, the way that it, constructs its mountains. There's stair-step patterns, and there's steep drop-offs, and there's sharp edges to the world. And I do think part of that is working within the limits of the technology, but I also think that part of that is the personality of this art style. And I think that that's really cool. And I was excited to kind of, it's almost like a Dr. Seuss level of abstraction of the natural world, right? And I wanted to kind of offer that to the Great Plateau, an area that was, I think like relative, it's a dramatic location with these big walls and mountains and cliffs and chasms. But like, I think that the base model of it is relatively like, quote unquote, realistic, right? Like in shape. And I wanted to offer a more cartoonish feel to it. I guess that's what I'm saying. But also offer kind of my own takes on what do I want to do with the lore, with the history of this area. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it, and like, I didn't want to put it in the title of this video, but spoiler alert. What we're doing here is we're creating I don't even know where to start with how I want to explain what I'm doing here. But I've talked to several people about their theories of how Skyloft could fit into this project. And I made the decision, like guided by their theories and kind of discussing different ideas. We all kind of decided that it made sense that Skyloft would have descended at some point between Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time. There was a common theory that Skyloft kind of became the Great Plateau, or descended onto the Great Plateau, or it descended and it flattened the area under the Great Plateau. There were a lot of theories going back and forth on what exactly happened there, how the Great Plateau is, how it plays into things. But there's this idea that I think the Great Plateau is kind of the birthplace of Hyrule. And we know that Skyloft, and those people from it are the founders of Hyrule. So it made sense to kind of connect these areas. And so for Wind Waker Unflooded, what we're seeing on the Great Plateau is a descended version of Skyloft, a town that, fell and then was reshaped, after it fell, right? That was redeveloped. And, we see the shapes of, the familiar shape of Skyloft as we know it from Skyward Sword. But there were so many things that had to be changed, had to be rebuilt, reintegrated into the landscape, and reshaping the landscape and the effect that has. It's a new version of Skyloft and the Great Plateau because of that. And I think that that's I think it's an interesting way of kind of looking at that area and adding both, just factoring that all into the area. I think that that'll be helpful I think that that would be cool, and it'd be kind of cool to rethink that history. And of course, like, it gets complicated, right? Because the goddess statue in Skyward Sword, we see it at the end of the game, spoiler alert, fall onto the sealed grounds in Skyward Sword. And so I'm saying that the sealed grounds are very much a different place from the Great Plateau. I'm saying that the sealed grounds are somewhere near the Lost Woods, while the Great, Skyloft descended onto the Great Plateau. They fell in different directions, and I'm okay with that. So I'm just kind of getting that out of the way. So that's why the Temple of Time is where it is. It's basically in relationship to Skyloft, where the goddess statue was, and was built around, the ruins of Skyloft and this new redeveloping town. But this goddess statue from Skyward Sword is still, at the sealed grounds near the Lost Woods. That's my take. But anyway, I think it's time for a short message, so I'll talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there's several ways that you can do that. Become a member on Patreon. It gives you access to exclusive bonus features and early access content in all of my filmmaking projects. Stuff like early access to scripts that I'm writing, storyboards, previs, rough cuts, and music that I compose. I'm a composer, and any music that you've heard in the background of this video was my music. So go to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music and type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify.
And we're back. How y'all doing? Welcome back. Hope y'all are enjoying this video. Yeah, I just wanted to explain some of my lore decisions, and thank you for listening to that short message. I don't make any ad revenue from these videos. If there's an ad on the video, it's because YouTube put it there. I'm just letting y'all know that, just reiterating that. So thank you all for supporting me, everyone who's become a Patreon member. And I encourage y'all, if y'all want to be able to support me as a creator, that's a great way to make all of my creative projects possible and to continue to make them possible. So thank you. I don't want to bother y'all about it, but I always have to remind you how you can support me. But yeah, I'm like I was just saying before the message, just kind of defending some of my creative decisions for the Great Plateau. I guess I just wanted to talk about the landscape itself, because the decision I wanted to make was to almost do like a dueling peaks thing. Excuse me, getting ahead of myself. But just kind of having these dual mountains, right? There's the mountain that turns into the island that we know in Wind Waker as Diamond Step Island. And then there's this other mountain that becomes, I think it's Mount Hylia, the snowy mountain that we know from the tutorial of Breath of the Wild with, I think it's called the River of Death, right? Like it's this very dangerous area that's kind of our first major test in Breath of the Wild, where we have to survive the cold. So it's like that's one side of the Great Plateau, and then the mountain going up to Diamond Step is the other side of the Great Plateau, and then in front of that is the Temple of Time and the rebuilt kind of town of Skyloft. That's my vision for the Great Plateau. And then around that, I'll add in the forests on both sides, right? And I'm thinking about what I want to do with those ruins that were near the shrine in Breath of the Wild where the Guardians were. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that area, because they may not be ruins in this version of the map. But I'm still kind of figuring out some things. So, as always, comment down below if you have any ideas on things to do with the Great Plateau and your own ideas about the area and what you want to see, and in general for this project. I say that in every video, but I want to go ahead and get that out of the way. If you have any ideas, I really welcome y'all's ideas and feedback, positive and negative criticisms, right? Just anything you want to see in the project, or any little thing, right? Whether that's a place that I haven't modeled yet that you want to see, or just little things that you think would make the world more interesting, or make the infrastructure make more sense, or whatever it is. Feel free to comment down below y'all's ideas. I really value that. And I think everyone who's been commenting y'all's ideas, that really does help. It helps me decide what area I want to work on next. It directly correlates with the videos I put out. And it just makes a difference, right? And it helps continue to inspire me to work on this project, just to see how much it means to y'all. So if y'all haven't heard me say that before, if y'all are new to the project, I just want y'all to know that it really does mean a lot to see how much the project means to y'all. This is a project that I think we all get to share as Zelda fans, and even though I'm making it, right, it's kind of cool to see that there really is a shared ownership, that everyone has their own vision of what they want to see added to the project and what's important to them in the way that Hyrule is depicted. And I want to honor that to the best that I can. It's hard to do it when different people have different ideas, and I can't honor everyone's idea, but I do try, and I try to make this project adhere to the overall desires of the community, and of course line up with my own creative vision and, you know, and bring what I think is important to Hyrule to the project and what I think is important to the world. You know, that's part of it too. I've talked about that before. So I'm not going to reiterate that. But I mean, all this to say, yeah, I think in the time lapse, you're probably seeing me work on the Snowy Mountain. I'm not watching it as I'm talking, but yeah, I guess, you know, this is part 1 of progress on the Great Plateau. Like I said, I'm going to do a part 2 where I continue to work on it. And so comment down below if there's any ideas, if there's an extension of the community of Skyloft that you think would be interesting, how this could all be tied together. I'm really interested in, I guess, y'all's ideas of, you know, this is the birthplace of Hyrule right here. And I know different people have theorized about, could the Great Plateau also be connected to Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Castle Town and its Hyrule Castle? I don't know. I'm not sure whether that makes sense for this project or not, but I think it's an interesting theory. And I'm interested to know just kind of what y'all's vision is. And just like, you know, yeah, what you think could be added to this this version of the Great Plateau. So comment down below. I'm gonna start wrapping up the video, y'all. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, I mean, y'all know how to support me. I've already given you all the spiel. So without further ado, I'll see y'all in the next video. So yeah, I'll let y'all go.